It's wonderful to be here in this lovely old church and at this historic, distinguished forum where I follow people like Isaac Bashevis Singer and Elie Wiesel, Desmond Tutu, George McGovern, Salman Rushdie, and a whole host of others. It's a great, great honor to be here. I'm very happy to be in Minneapolis. I flew out here, and given the attention pilots seem to lavish on their on their laptops, I thought it might be Bismarck or somewhere like that, but it turns out to be Minneapolis, and I'm very happy and proud to be here and to see all of you. I want to speak rather briefly, just for 20 or 25 minutes, and sketch a little bit about the book that Tim referred to, The Future of Faith, because I really look forward to the period in which you can ask your questions or voice your criticisms, and we can have a back and forth among us here and for the instruction and entertainment of those in the radio audience who are listening. There are three main points in The Future of Faith, which you'll pick out when you look at it. I simply ask myself, what can we say about the future of faith, the future of religion, of Christianity in particular, as we look down the long corridor of the 21st century? And first of all, I have to warn you, be very, very careful of anybody who makes predictions about anything, stock market or religion, and especially beware of me. I firmly predicted that the Red Sox would win the pennant and the World Series. Thank you. This is always next year, and for another Red Sox World Series victory, I think it is a really long corridor down that 21st century, but we're used to waiting in Boston for these kinds of things. The three main theses of this book are as follows. First of all, despite all the predictions which were being made all around me and all around many of you here, when I first started my teaching, which was half a century ago now, predictions that religion was in a state of decline and decay, marginalization, that the rise of technology and education and literacy and all of that would make religion an insignificant factor in human life. It would certainly no longer have any influence in the public sphere. It would certainly not have any power to shape cultures anywhere. It might be preserved in small family enclaves or in old wives' tales and so on. But that was pretty much the picture that was being painted. That wasn't so long ago. Well, whatever else happened, that prediction is one of the most mistaken ones on record. That did not happen in the past 5 decades. Rather, what happened was the rather unexpected global resurgence of religion in almost all of the religious traditions of the world, all around the globe. I quickly add, for bane or for blessing, because if you have studied religion as long as I have, which is pretty long now, you'll know that when there is a religious revival or renaissance, it's good news, and it can also be bad news. Because religion can inspire compassion and tenderness, solidarity with those who are in pain. Religion can also inspire hatred, vitriol, xenophobia. As one of my friends puts it, there are people who are willing to die for the faith, and there are people who are willing to kill for the faith. So we're handling a very potent force here. And it's going to be around for a while. That's the first major thesis. And those of us who are practicing Christians, as I am, or practicing in some other, or taking seriously some other tradition, will be living in a time in which the new sorting out of these various religious traditions, how they relate to each other, how they relate to the common human future, will be the task that we have. That's the first point. The second point in the book is that one of the reasons why the fundamental mistake was made by so many knowledgeable people half a century ago about the decline and disappearance and marginalization of religion was two things. First, overestimating the benefits of what was hailed as the modern age or modernity, which it was alleged when I was a youth, was going to solve just about everything. Technology, democracy, literacy, science was going to lay to rest the animosities, maybe even the diseases, and we were going to move into a really brave and wonderful new world called the modern world. Well, that didn't happen either, as the sad, sad history of the 20th century, perhaps the most violent century on human record, we can look back on now. That did not happen, alas. Also, I think those prognosticators did not foresee, or weren't aware, of the ability, the capability of religions to transform themselves, to draw on their inner substance, their core convictions, but still adjust to changes in the world, which they have done over many, many centuries and indeed many millennia. Religions have an uncanny capacity to do this, and we're witnessing that right now. So the second point of the book is this one, that we are now witnessing not just the renaissance of religious traditions, but a fundamental change in the nature of religiousness, what I call religiousness, what it means to be a religious person, and indeed what it means to be a Christian religious person in particular. Now, what I mean by that is that when I look at Christianity or Judaism or Hinduism or Islam or Buddhism, and my field increasingly has been comparative religion, because I think we learn a lot that can help us in our own traditions as we know these other traditions. As I look around, I see changes that are similar in each of the major religious traditions. I just want to mention a few, and we may come back to them when you want to put your questions or your criticisms. The first is what I call the experiential turn. More and more people now seem to be interested in a direct encounter with God, with the Spirit, with the divine, with the sacred. Something experiential, something they can put their teeth in, something they can touch. And are less and less willing simply to accept religious teachings on the authority of someone else, because it says so in a book, or because a bishop or a pastor or an imam or someone else says it. So if you look around, this turn toward experience, which also to some extent means a turn away from an emphasis on doctrine and dogma, or an emphasis on hierarchy and organization. It's a shift, and I see it everywhere, in all of the traditions that I've just made. It's amazing how global this whole underlying change in the nature of religiousness is. The experiential turn. Think of one example, for example, in Christianity, in my own tradition, the fastest growing wing of Christianity today is what is called the Pentecostal Charismatic movement, growing especially rapidly in Latin America, in Asia, in Africa, even in China, in mainland China. And this is an expression of Christianity in which the direct experience of the Spirit, often expressed in a very open and explicit way, with movement, with dancing, with shouting, is the mode of worship. Healing is a very important part too.